I know an egregious amount about you. Been obsessed since I first showed up on your Salem days.
Now, I love WandaVision. I think it is absolutely, WandaVision. I love Agatha all along. It's absolutely fantastic. The show is a direct sequel to WandaVision, but also has so many elements, and the tone is so much different than anything in the MCU. Now, working on both WandaVision and Agatha, what were some of the biggest differences you saw between the two series, and how do you hope to differentiate from WandaVision?
Well, what's really exciting for us is that we get to make the show.
Yes.
Agatha Harkness was quite an obscure character from the comics that we were excited to establish in WandaVision, but it was really Kathryn Hahn and her incredible portrayal of this character that allotted us the opportunity to make this series because of the incredible fan response to her. I mean, people just want to know more. And of course, WandaVision celebrated the golden age of television and sitcoms, with sitcoms throughout the eras. And this show, featuring Agatha Harkness, because she's a witch, celebrates the golden age of fantasy and horror. We've taken a nearly entirely practical approach to making the show. When you're on the witch's road or in any of these trials, you can be certain that there was no blue screen or green screen. We've utilized backdrops and miniatures and special makeup effects to ensure that any environment or evil that our coven faced was entirely real and something that they could emotionally harness. So I think that really galvanized the crew, and that excitement will be felt on the other end of the screen.
Was that practicality also in the haunted house stuff as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's so cool. You know, I love the Witch's Road because it does remind me a bit of like the Wizard of Oz, mixed with Hocus Pocus a little bit. Can you talk about adapting the Witch's Road for Agatha? Because I know that's primarily a Wanda story.
Well, whenever we start out on a new project, especially I make it a point to read all of the appearances that character ever shows up in. And that really just all goes in the cauldron when we're in the writer's room and developing. But you referenced, the Wizard of Oz and Hocus Pocus. I think there's just such a deep love for all things horror and fantasy and these subgenres. So when you watch Agatha All Along, there's just references throughout of everything that folks who are fans of villaincore love peppered throughout.
That's incredible. Now, one of the biggest themes in WandaVision was the idea of grief and working through grief. And we can surely see that back with Agatha, with Kathryn's character. How much does grief continue here, and what other themes are explored in the show?
Well, what I can say is that the stakes for the show are incredibly high. Death is a central theme to this show, and the Witch's Road is a perilous journey, and I can say that not all survive. So, therefore, I would say grief must play a part as well.
Absolutely. Now, I love the musical aspect of this show. Fans clearly loved Agatha All Along, sung from WandaVision. Was that always planned to be the musical element in this show, or was it after the fact when All Along kind of hit the top of the charts?
Well, I think it was our experience working with Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez during WandaVision that we knew their talents were indispensable. It just brought such new heights to WandaVision that we could have never hoped for. And certainly the fan response galvanized us to absolutely find a way to work with them again with the show. And so during the show's development, we were looking for a way to fold in some sort of musical moment yet again, and Jack Schaefer just wrapped her head around and around how that could possibly play out, and the Ballad of the Witch's Road just took on a life of its own. It's performed several different ways throughout the course of the show, and I would say also plays quite a central narrative role as well. So I'm excited for fans to see how that evolves and compounds.
I do want to ask you about the Children's Crusade, because that is a storyline that a lot of fans are looking forward to. Is that in the works at all for Disney Plus or anything like that? Can you hint to anything at all?
I'm certainly a fan of that run, and that's all I can say.
All right, let me ask you another question. So is there a possibility for a Scarlet Witch movie?
I think you have to ask the Man in the Hat about that.
I thought I could get it from you. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. I loved Agatha All Along. It's so much fun. I mean, the first four were incredible.
Thank you, Joe. I really
You're
appreciate
the best.
it.
The road will give you the thing you want the most if you make it to the end.
Shall we?